Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Okay, we're going to get started. I think that everyone who was going to call in has called in. Good morning, everyone, for everyone on the West Coast, and good afternoon to everyone on our East Coast. My name is Celeste Bohm. I'm the VP of Retail Engagement for UVM Fashion Group. First of all, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this webinar, Everything You Need to Know Before Attending Magic. Our goal is to help educate you and give you a preview of what you can expect when you get on the Magic Marketplace show floors. It's intended to make the most efficient and productive use of your time. Throughout the entire webinar that we're giving right now, we encourage you to ask questions. So if you have any questions, if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a little button that says Q&A. Please type your question into that, and Annalise will make sure that we answer all the questions at the end of our presentation. And in addition, there's a lot of information that's going to be covered on this webinar. Do not worry about taking serious notes. We're going to send out the links to the presentation and then links to other things that we talk about after the webinar is concluded. And with that information, I'm going to now turn it over to Mercedes Gonzalez. She'll be navigating us through this webinar, and she is the founder of Global Purchasing. Mercedes?
Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. I just want to give you a little heads up on why I feel, at least, I'm very qualified to walk you through what is Magic in Las Vegas. I have been attending Magic for 22 years now. This would be my 44th time attending the show, and I have to tell you something. Every 6 months, just when you're feeling a little bit beat down with bad news and the weather and whatever else might be, once I walk in through those doors, I totally feel re-energized. But having said that, the 44th time that I have walked in through those doors, I still feel overwhelmed. So whether you are a new store or a store that's looking for new product, this is definitely the place to go. And one of the things that, while we talk about all the different locations and different events and different seminars and different product categories that there are, is to keep in mind that your store, whether new or old, is always a work in progress. So think about your store always evolving with the times and changing and adding new product categories. So you may not carry footwear today, but being at the show and visiting all of the different areas, you might be inspired to try some footwear too. So with that said, let's talk about why Magic. First of all, it is the most comprehensive trade show in the world. And I can say that because last year I went to 52 trade shows in 8 different countries. It's also one of the most oldest trade shows in the country, which started in 1933, and it started solely as a men's show based in California. That's where the Magic gets its name. It was the Men's Association Guild in California. So now you know that little bit of trivia. With one badge, you get to see all the shows, which includes 13 different shows in 2 different campuses. So the other thing I really love about Magic is without having to have a passport, you can visit over 35 different countries. When you get to the sourcing, it's the most obvious because it's broken down by different countries. But one of my favorite reasons of going to Magic is to network with other retailers. And sometimes sharing problems or situations with people that you meet finds a solution together. One of my favorite stories that I have with some of our clients is that we have a lot of Canadian clients that network with stores that might be in Texas or in Florida, and instead of marking down their merchandise at the end of the season, what they do is they swap it out with each other. Since obviously Canada has a longer winter season and Florida has a longer summer season. So the other thing that I try to look at when I'm at Magic too is the trends. And and I'm sure that this has happened to all of you. When you look at a trend and say, oh my gosh, I will never buy that for my store, and God forbid I would ever wear it. But once you see it in men's, children's, women's, footwear, accessories, and you start to get the hint that maybe this is a trend that while you might like it, it's something that's important as a retailer to have in your store. So that's probably one of the rules I want to start with as a buyer. We're not buying the things that you like. We're buying the things that sell in your store. So one of the other things I feel that's important too as a new retailer is to keep an open mind about new product categories and not just limit yourself to what's available or what you thought you were going to have in your store. And of course, as an established store, you definitely want to set a goal of meeting new brands. So the store is broken up, the trade show is broken up by different product categories and by different brands. If I had to say, one of the things I want you to keep in mind is that every store should practice a retail theory of good, better, and best pricing. So within one product category, you should be looking at different brand levels to have inside of your store. So the brand categories that Magic offers under these 13 trade shows is women's, men's, footwear, children's, and sourcing. And we're going to talk about each one of them in more detailed, and then we're going to drill it down even to some of our favorite brands. So it is in two different campuses. The first campus is the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is really the original place of Magic. You'll find sourcing all the way at the North Hall. In the center hall where you first come in is going to be Women's Wear Daily Magic, or WWD Magic. Over to your right will be a footwear news platform, or FN platform. Then you'll find the WSA section of the footwear show and footwear sourcing, which is really being developed and over the last couple of seasons has really, really grown. And we'll talk about product development, private label development in just a minute. But Women's Wear Magic, WWD Magic, is broken into different categories and subcategories also. The categories you'll find is young contemporary, which even the name might sound really deceiving. Even if you are a Missy store, we have always found tremendous margin builders in this area. You're going to find that a lot of them are fast fashion, meaning that they have more than one delivery per season, which is great when you're trying to keep a nice turnover and be competitive with some of the retailers that might be in your shopping center. They are very trend-driven where the juniors areas are, and there's also accessories to show. And I'll map it out a little bit as we go further. I know it might sound a little overwhelming already, but we haven't even gotten started yet. Some of the subcategories that you'll find there is active. So if you're developing a small area, which we do recommend, of active wear, meaning yoga clothing and exercise wear, and also athleisure, which translates into more like a day or weekend clothing, this is definitely the spot to find it. And you'll also find some retail services and women's sportswear in this area. Some of the brands that you might find there are like Amy Lynn and Woomsong, Motions by Correlation. Those are all really nice brand builders. And what I mean by margin builders or brand builders are things that you can typically mark up more than Keystone. But marking up more than Keystone is really vital, especially for the independent retail, to be able to have margins to be competitive. So when we go to the other side, we'll see the accessory show that has a few new brands. They're all listed there on your PowerPoint that you can see. And the thing to do, too, is take your time to really research and map your floor and your agenda now, because once you walk in, every well-made plan that you have is going to go out the window. But the idea is that you have some kind of schedule or planning that you could do ahead of time. The Children's Club it keeps growing and has some really brilliant brands. It's not your discount kind of gymboree kind of price point or quality. You're going to find some really beautiful brands. And as a trend, what we're seeing in the children's business, that it's morphing also into boutique business. For Easter, for Passover, for holidays, for Thanksgiving, we're seeing a lot of boutiques that don't traditionally carry children, carry some children's wear because of family portraits and pictures and events. So this is a consideration that you could have to cross over your business and also to increase customers that you didn't have before. FM platform, which is the shoe show, which really is a world in its own. And every single product category that you can imagine when it comes to footwear is going to be there. There's a couple of fun events that you want to go to, the opening night party that is, and the FM cafe that starts at 6 p.m., there's also some of the highlights that they have. Wait, I lost my place. Sorry about that, guys. Well, let me start from the product category. So let's go to the different areas that they have to show. So Black Diamond is the most luxury brands, the higher end brands. You have your more fashion contemporary, which is in the Cosmo area. Bond is the most bespoke part of the show, and it's geared more towards men's footwear. And I should say in the men's area, you'll find all the product categories. You'll find the leisure, the footwear, the sneakers, the weekend, and then you'll find the more suiting kinds of footwear there too. Camp, I actually like this because it's the more fun and it's very well priced. You can find some of the margin builders here too. But most importantly, if you don't have a footwear department in your store, this is where I would probably look for add-ons and treat it part of your accessories department. So when you're completing an outfit and you're building a wardrobe and you're upselling a customer, this is a very customer service friendly way of adding one more item to that sale. Zen is very comfortable footwear. It's walking shoes. It's you'll find your Birkenstocks there. You'll find your more comfortable footwear there. And then Play carries all the children's categories, boys and girls, even some school shoes you'll find in that too. WSA at Magic is another division. I would say it's more of your fast fashion, your more opening price point footwear, but it is very, very fashion forward too. So again, when we're talking about price theory in the store and you want to have that good, better, best kind of price point, this is a really good place to find those margin builders. And of course, just a FYI, when you need to make a pit stop early in the morning, they do have coffee and donuts out, and they're usually, may I say, Krispy Kreme and delicious. So the other part of footwear, and this is for the designers that are out there, is the sourcing. And I have to tell you again, visiting trade shows, this is probably the most complete sourcing for footwear show that you could attend. It's very easy to navigate. I don't feel like the minimums are outrageous. A lot of the brands are very willing to work with up-and-coming designers. And even as a retailer, if you were looking to do some private label, like some of our clients last year, we found a flip-flop manufacturer, and everybody can use a flip-flop. It's definitely an add-on if you sell any kind of swimwear. We found it very inexpensively. They were able to customize it by putting the store's name on it and package it in these really great, like, little gift bags, not in boxes. And they were a nice margin builder. And actually, some of our stores sold it as a gift for purchase when they made a sale of a bathing suit. So these are the kind of the things that you want to leave yourself open to these different opportunities, because as a retailer, you're going to buy, you're going to sell, but you're also going to do some of the product development. So this brings me now to sourcing at Magic. As a retailer, you might not have a time to visit all 13 shows, but I do encourage you, if you have just a few minutes, to do what we call a drive-by. And a drive-by is when you just frantically run through one of the shows. This would be it, because you're looking at trends and you're looking at situations that are not going to be adding product for another year. So one of the things I really encourage boutique retailers that's really important to stay competitive is to become that credible expert. So looking at the trend board, there's a whole area about 3D printing at the show, the new technologies and fabrications, even in appliques and all of these kinds of items that are happening, not for this season, but 2 seasons down the road. This is where you get that insider information. And for those of you that have a bestseller, like it could be a basic cami top, it might be just a little sundress, it might be of the pair of perfect leggings that you have. This is the place that you come to do your production. And I'm finding that there are more domestic manufacturers being shown at the show. I do find that the help area is very good about directing you in which country would be the best to source these kinds of products. So it's definitely a place that I want you to go and spend some time. Some of the things I want to call out that I feel like are really exciting is the African Fashion Gallery, which is run by a pop-up retailer, and she does a really great job of curating some of these designers that are coming from Africa. And you cannot miss the Fashion Snoops trend area. They are so generous with the information that they're giving you. I mean, it is a very highly regarded trend forecasting company, and it just always floors me with their generosity when it comes to the trends that they're telling us. As far as the Mandalay Convention Center, so now we're going to hop on our shuttle bus, and I'm going to tell you how to catch them and get over there shortly. But we're going to cross over to the other side of the strip, and we're going to be at the Mandalay. So at the Mandalay, you're going to find several of the other shows, the Collective, Project, Pool Trade Shows, the Tent, Project Women, and Stitch. So let's talk about each of them. The Tent is a more elevated contemporary kind of collection for men, while you will find some of the denim brands in there too, but they're usually denim collections. It is a higher price point, but again, this is, if it's not your price point, I still encourage you to walk row by row and really check out all of the shows because, and as I'm sure all of you have been in business for a few years, that one thing that you think wasn't going to be important, 10 people are going to ask you about the minute you leave the show. So it is important to gather this kind of reconnaissance information and knowledge from visiting all of the trade shows. The next show is Project. Project in itself is humongous. It has men's, women's, and accessories mixed in there. You'll also find some footwear. I love the live model presentations that they do because we actually stole that idea last season that we were there and applied it into some of our own stores. And instead of having big, giant, formal fashion shows, we do these little presentations now in the store. And they're very well received because people feel like they're interacting more with the models. They're touching the fabrics. They're really getting to know the product, which translates into sales. And if all of us have ever done a church basement fashion show or one at the community college or one at the school gym, we all know that none of that actually translates into sales. So having these presentations and getting these inspirations by seeing them at the Magic Show is really important. And of course, the very famous official project party, I will be there at 10:30 and I will leave there at 10:45 because I am on the West Coast and I just go to say hello. So if you want to catch me there, that's when I'll be there. Don't forget, you have to refuel. There are hydration stations throughout the show. You'll find them at the Buyer's Lounge too, which we'll talk about. But please stop by the Pivot station, which has a coffee. And most importantly, Pivot is really the future of retail data mining is going. All of this information based on sales and consumer behavior is very important to our business too. So stop by. They have a series of workshops too that are very important. And if you can afford the time, I definitely recommend it. The Collective, that's where we're going to find more branded and licensed apparel. It is geared towards men and young men. So if you have a junior area and you're carrying men, this is definitely the area you want to find all of those products. Of course, they have coffee there too, but most importantly, this is where you can go for your cocktail hour. There will be a cocktail on Monday and Tuesday. Is that true on Monday, or is it Tuesday and Wednesday? I don't think it's Monday. Yeah, let's just say Tuesday. So I'll meet you there around 4 o'clock. And the licensing has a lot of seminars. So if you're wondering about how licensing works and how you can get a license. And I would say that this is really important for anybody that wants to have an international brand in their store. These are the people to talk to and the workshops to go to. Pool Trade Show, it's not the biggest part of the show, but it's a must stop for everybody. The energy, the excitement, there's a lot of young and small indie designers that you're going to find here. It's kind of t-shirt driven. There's a lot of beautiful accessories. There's a little tiny corner in the back. You have to look for it, but it has cash and carry. So this is one of the ways that you could justify your expenses by buying some things and selling them immediately when you get back to the store, and also to create excitement about the next season too with your findings. There's also some nice art that you'll find there. And what did I want to mention? Did I tell you how much I love pool? I think it's definitely a place to stop. Project Women's, again, it's a bigger space. You're going to see a lot of more contemporary, some of denim and accessories there for women. There's going to be a whole curation area of conscious collections, which means that these are ethically sourced, and a lot of the fabrics are going to be organic fabrics. So if this is something that your store is known for, this is a must stop. They also have a nice little cocktail party on Tuesday from 4 to 6 at the Oasis Lounge. Now, I emphasize the coffee corners and I emphasize the cocktail, and it's not so much to drink, but it's to network. And just remember, the people that you meet there today, it's not the person that they know. It's not me that you might meet or another retailer that you might meet, but all the other people that they know too. And in this world of independent retailers, we all have to form this kind of community to kind of help each other during uncertain times. So having said that, stitch is another little area of the trade show. I find here there are more extended sizes, some plus sizes, a little bit more missy, but at the same time, I've always found some really interesting international brands that have already a good footprint in the country and are very established. This is like a little area that I always love to go to for discovery. And it's important, especially if you're trying to get new brands within the store. I have a lingerie store, but I definitely feel that one of the ways to open your store is by carrying some lingerie. Some of you might feel comfortable with carrying traditional lingerie like bras and panties, but every single boutique retailer should have a small area of what we call shapewear or our fillers. So that would be your slip dresses or your bra extenders or your nipple covers or all of those kinds of things. This is the area that you want to find them. The other thing that you will find here at Curves is the swimwear. So there will be a smaller amount of swimwear this time around, but in the August show, you'll find an extensive collection of swimwear. So the seminar series. I cannot emphasize the importance of education, of always learning something. Most of the trade shows I attend around the world, the seminar series there's a heavy fee for them, and they're quite expensive, especially if you add up more than 2 or 3 of them. Magic and the UBM Fashion Group, they are incredibly kind to provide all of these seminar series. You have some really incredible speakers from around the world that are experts in their field. Fashion Snoops, again, I mentioned, I think is really important. A lot of the manufacturing associations will be speaking. Some of the topics that they're going to be talking about are the new trade policies, and it's going to affect all of us, especially if we're manufacturing or buying products made in China, made in Mexico, made in Arab countries. So these are all kind of things that we have to pay attention. We can't, as retailers, and even as small as you think that you are, we are the backbone of the industry. We must stay educated. We must be credible experts, and we always have to be looking for moments of opportunity. So when Macy's is closing stores and when discounts are getting more aggressive, we have to counterbalance that yin with that yang with new products by giving a chance to the emerging designers, by finding an international brand that nobody else has. And the only way you're going to do that is to actually walk every single show and every aisle by aisle, stopping and looking and taking your coffee breaks, but moving forward throughout the show. So when we go back to the convention center, the different locations of the seminars, they're mostly all on the second floor when you walk in through the center hall. You will find some of the sourcing, especially the footwear, will be downstairs at WSA Magic booth, but don't be confused with this map. I know it looks tiny, but once you get there, I promise you there'll be a tremendous amount of signage directing you exactly where you need to go for the workshops. But I will say this, especially with the trend forecasting ones, you want to get there early because they get jammed up, and you don't want to miss out on those. The Mandalay Convention Center, the seminars are going to be held all in the same place. They're at the Buyer's Suite, which is going to be all the way in the back. Once you walk through the door, you're going to make a quick left, go through projects, all the way through collectives, and eventually you will get there. So just a little FYI, you know how all the hotels look really close to each other on the strip? Well, don't try to walk from hotel to hotel. I'm telling you this from experience. It is a mirage. They are miles and miles away from each other. And you're going to be counting every single step that you take while you're at Magic. So one of the advice I always give my clients, especially if we're at least a month out, start walking. Walk at lunchtime, walk when you get home, take a walk in the morning, because you will be surprised how much walking you will actually need to do. And the other thing about even all of this walking that I'm talking about, it's important to pace yourself too, because there's a phenomenon that I've realized that's called, or I call it, buyer's blindness. So what does that mean? That means after walking 3 or 4 rows, all of a sudden everything starts to look the same. Once that happens to you, that's the time to start taking a small break. So there are the WWD studios that are going to be live at Magic. There's going to be some great bloggers talking about business and there's going to be some really great photographers that are going to be talking about. And this is a nice social media opportunity for you to take a picture because, again, this is what separates you from some of the other retailers that might be in your community, that you are the credible expert, that you are in Las Vegas, that you're in the thick of doing business. So the show hours, you'll see they'll be listed on your badge. They're listed in the show book. But just to go over them, it's Tuesday and Wednesday from 9 to 6, and Thursday from 9 to 6 also. Just keep in mind that the sourcing show starts on a Monday and closes early on Thursday, a little earlier on Thursday. So transportation. I have to tell you the truth. Even though there's great taxis and there's an Uber service and Lyft now has a partnership with the Magic Group, it is really important, I feel, to take the shuttle. I have met some of the most interesting people. And again, if you're going with your assistant buyer, you're going with your partner, or you're going with one of the sales associates, don't sit together on the bus and strike up a conversation with that person next to you. One of my most favorite Magic stories is right after 9/11. So right after 9/11, Magic was literally a ghost town. People were afraid of flying. Nobody wanted to do business. All the department stores had a moratorium about going anywhere. And there I was sitting on the Magic bus with another Japanese store and an elderly man. And when I mean elderly, I mean he was ancient. So now I decide to sit next to the elderly man and ask him, nobody came. Why are you here? And he said, well, I'm running a 3-generation store. My grandson, who's running the store now, didn't want to come to Magic because he was afraid of the economy and what was going to happen. But I have lived through 2 world wars, a bad recession. I grew up in the Depression, and I've learned a couple of things in my life. That when people are sad and depressed, when business is getting tough, if you don't have new product to sell in the store, you will lose, and you will go out of business. So I am here to do business. And that lesson I have applied over and over and over under many different situations since then. So it is us, the ones that separate ourselves from the online stores, from the Amazons of the world, from the department stores that are constantly taking a chance on a new designer, on a new brand, going to the trade shows, scattering our deliveries, and meeting and networking people that are not only going to grow, but we're going to thrive in these moments of opportunity that are out there. So the shuttle, and I do want to say one thing too. When you're going from the Mandalay to the convention center, especially if you're going to be taking a workshop that now are located in both campuses, give yourself a good hour to get from campus to campus. Some of the things that you want to look at are your brand books that are going to be available, and you can start shopping online for the brands that you want to see, and also the buyer guides that are available. And the buyer guides are so great because they're listed by product category, by vendor name, so you'll get a lot of information fed to you in the way that you need it at that moment. The show planners will tell you the exhibitors, the seminar series, the floor plans, and all the special events. And I always like to keep track of the Twitter account and the Instagram account. And I encourage you all to use the same hashtag, which is MagicLV, so that we could all kind of keep each other on track when we see a celebrity sighting, which you will see, which is one of the really great things about Magic, too, that really separates them from the other trade shows, that every single major brand and every single celebrity, when they choose to launch a fashion collection, they launch at Magic. So all of these little things that you want to keep track of. The retail concierge service is a new service that they are providing. I feel like everybody's going to feel like a VIP. They're going to be able to help you develop your own shopping experience. They're going to tailor it to what you need. So if you have a very specific need, if you're looking for women's contemporary clothing with a retail price of under $300, they're going to help you map out and understand the vendors that best fit your needs. They're going to help you set the appointments with the brands. And most important thing, they're going to give you all the brand lists and line sheets before the trade show so that you can make your decisions of where you want to go. So this is an excellent, excellent service that I have never in my whole experience of doing this, I've seen another trade show that will go down to that detail. There are some retail amenities. There's food and beverages. There's a nice cafe in Center Hall. There's a food court over at South Hall. But to be honest with you, personally, me and my team, we live on power bars. And if this wasn't illegal, I would even say wear adult diapers because there's not even time to go to the bathroom. But, again, to each their own. There are some great help desks, too, and, of course, there's Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi that you'll be able to log in doesn't need a password, and it's UBM Fashion is the Wi-Fi? I thought it was Magic.
I think it's not UBM Fashion.
Yeah, UBM Fashion is the Wi-Fi. So one of the things that is really being developed and every single season gets better and better is Shop the Floor. So Shop the Floor is an app that you will be able to preview all the line sheets, and this is kind of important too. We use this tool before the show to kind of glance at, especially when we're doing our budgets, what's going on and who's new at the show. But we also use it after the show if we need to fill in something that we didn't get to or a brand that we wanted to review and we don't want them to wait for their line sheets to come to us. So this is kind of an important tool. And the nice thing is now that Fashion Scoops has teamed up with them, so in real time they're telling you what current styles and trends are and what's checking at retail. So this is really an amazing resource that I want you to take advantage of. So now let's talk a little bit about preparing to go to the show. It is best to register online and early. You don't want to register at the show. If you have any problems because of this retail concierge service, I suggest you just send them an email, and whenever I've had an international client, it gets answered within 24 hours. Make sure that you bring your confirmation email with you so that you can quickly scan it and get your badge. One of the other things, or some of the other tips I want to give you for this show is, it's not on those lists, so I'm just going to mention this one too because I just remembered it. You should also pack kind of light, and if you could at all possible pack a carry-on, that would be great. There are so many people that are traveling at the same time to get to this show that you don't want your luggage to be held off because they're giving priority to samples. And trust me when I tell you, the major airlines know which trunks are sample trunks and which is, consumer luggage. Make sure that you dress professionally. So I get this question all the time. What exactly is professional dress? I'd rather you be overdressed than underdressed. But unfortunately, I have gone to many trade shows where people look like a homeless person on laundry day. And when I ask them, what are you doing? And they'll say to me, well, I want it to be comfortable. Comfortable and fashion do not go together in the same sentence. We are in a fashion business, and trust me when I tell you, people will judge you for your appearance. And those are the same people that look like a homeless person on laundry day that come to me and say, oh, the booth won't give me an appointment. There's a reason why, because you don't look like you're seriously there to do business. We're not pencil salesmen, we're fashion salesmen. Project your open to buy. This is really, really important too. Sometimes we go without a budget. We go without a plan. We don't know what categories we want. So it's important just to take the time in the beginning to weed out what you want and what you don't want. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Bring business cards. I can't tell you, if you think you're bringing too many business cards, add another stack. You're going to be giving them out to the vendors, so the people that you meet at the networking parties, at the opening parties, you will be giving out your business card. And remember, your business card is advertising for your business too. So make sure that they're professionally made. I like taking a notebook and a stapler with me because the people that I'm not going to do business with, but something I might want to consider in the future or for my second store or maybe an additional product category that I want to add to my store, but I just want to make the note. I like to staple it to a notebook and write the notes right there. Because, again, I'm talking from experience. I have come home with a pocket full of business cards and not known what their purpose was. Do not, and this is really important, be tempted to bring a ginormous tote bag with you and a wheelie cart with you because you're going to spend the day collecting all of these catalogs. That was fine in the day before email and electronic data or digital lookbooks, but now what we do is we just exchange business cards and ask them to digitally send you the lookbook. And trust me, it's going to save your back and save you so much money on carry-on luggage too. Bring an extra phone charger. It is difficult to find a charging station for your cell phone, so if you can even bring 2 battery packs for your cell phone, I think that that's important too. And at night, you might want to keep your laptop handy so that you can do your balance and your budgets at night, so you can figure out what your budget is for the next day. Before the show, it is important to make a list of all of your best-selling styles and your best-selling brands. And how do you complement these brands? By adding additional new brands. If you are a new store, then make a list of all the brands that you like and are important to your store. And especially if it's an important contemporary brand, I would try to make an appointment with them before the show and not expect them to have any appointments available during the show, because they do get booked up pretty quickly. Hold a staff meeting, and especially what we like to do with some of our stores is, and we've been successful in it, and it started as just a casual conversation, but some of our retailers have taken it to the next level where they actually have little lunches for their top 10 customers, and they have a little idea meeting where they talk about strategy or new brands, or they talk about styles that they like or things that they're looking for. And a lot of the times the retailers will tell me that they didn't even know that there was an event or a social occasion in the town that they lived in that they could also participate in. So having these kind of little network lunches is a lot of fun, but gives you this reconnaissance and this kind of feedback that you need to prepare to go to market. And it is also really important to be a leader and not a follower. It is important to take a chance on new products, on new brands, and even, I dare say, price points. Don't get comfortable with your store. Always try to evolve the store into the next level. And my most favorite example is Barney's. I'm sure we're all familiar with Barney's New York. Barney's started as a discount men's store. And look at the level that they have become. So it's really important to kind of think of your store as a work in progress. And trust me when I tell you, the minute you think you know your customer, she's going to completely change her mind, and you have to be ready for that. Plan your workshops, and like I mentioned, some of the workshops get booked really, really early, so you want to get there before the program starts. So during the show, it is important to understand some retail lingo, and I will go over some of the questions that you want to ask the vendor. But I remember we had a workshop, and we have this workshop, and I hope to see you there, called Retail 101. And one of the people attending the workshop came to me after and said, Mercedes, I don't understand. Every time I walk up to the booth and I ask them for the appointment, they say, well, we have 2:15 available. But it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Why are they giving me an appointment at 2:15? And I'm like, because they're telling you that they have 2:15, February the 15th cancel dates available. And what they were asking you is if that's what you were looking for, not the time of the appointment. So understanding a little bit the retail lingo is kind of important. And I got to tell you something, even me, after all these years of buying, sometimes people will sneak in a word, and I'm like, what? But I fake it, and then I try to figure it out later. Thank you, Google. So now the other thing I want you to be aware of is don't buy because of price or because of a brand. So you might go into sourcing, or you might go into, Young Contemporaries and find something that's really inexpensive. Don't dismiss it because of the price. Is it a margin builder? Is it something that you could private label? Is it something that we can use to our advantage? Be the buyer. So having said that, it is also important to think of yourself as an editor. You will walk all 13 shows and take the best of each show and form this kind of collection, this curation into your retail store. And this is what's going to make you different from everybody else that's out there. And don't forget, you're the buyer. So as we're buying, it's important to think that you're buying 3 seasons at the same time. Actually, we can say that you're buying 4 seasons. So right now, it's fall. It's the beginning of the fall. I'll probably buy 45% of my budget, my open to buy, now. I will also be buying 35% of my budget for in-season. That means I'm still buying Easter dresses. I'm still buying spring break outfits. I might be still buying bathing suits, especially bathing suits and really like summer resort wear for spring break now, and it's probably about 20% because I might be able to get some off price and some discounts, and those could be my margin builders too. So you're always buying 3 seasons at a time, and you will find that a lot of the brands will be showing you spring at once, which we started to show August market, but now they have it available and in stock and ready to ship to your store. And you'll also be previewing and buying fall that starts to deliver as early as July, but as late as September too. So if we look at the next slide, you'll see kind of a little example of a budget of your open to buy. The way that we do it by month. So January, February, March, April is on your screen. The deliveries, but most importantly, not only am I remembering the holidays for that month, like Valentine's Day in February, but I'm also looking at events. So if you're doing an in-store event, or if your town has the strawberry festival or the cauliflower festival, you might want to plan around having those events too. And this also helps you organize your whole year when it comes to an advertising and marketing campaign. So as we get a little bit more sophisticated, and again, I don't want to inundate you with like math, but it is so important to prepare yourself for your budget, because you may come in with a $50,000 budget and you might spend it all in one vendor, and that totally defeats the purpose. So you want to be able to break it down by department, your related separates, your sportswear. Are you going to carry some intimates, even if it's just the shapewear? In your accessories, are you going to add footwear to that mix? What percentage of sales is all of that? And of course, it's much easier when you have a good POS system, but especially for the new stores, it's important to have excellent guesstimates in the beginning and set these budgets. So if we turn to the next slide, you'll see some of the questions that I like to ask the vendors. I am going to give you the best piece of advice ever. Do not walk into a booth and say, what is your minimum? Because if you start a conversation like this, you've already told the vendor, I'm really new, I don't know what I'm doing, and please ignore me or take advantage of me. So what you want to start is first understand if this is actually a brand or a product that you want and can afford for your store. So I ask, can I take a look at the collection? And if they say no, they might want to show it to me, and that's totally fine. Or if they do, and most times you'll find that they do, I just walk around and pick up a few of the items. Once I pick up a few of the items, I will take a look at it. And in my mind, I will try to guess what my customer is willing to pay for it. So let's say it's $45. So now I'll come back and say, can you give me an idea of your price points? Another vendor might say, well, my prices start at $100 and go to $300. But I just thought that my customer is going to pay $45 for it, so maybe it's not a good mix for me. Or the opposite might happen. They might say it's $5. Now, don't do a happy dance because everything's negotiable. But it is $5 and you feel like you get $45. Now we start a different conversation. Who do you sell to in my area? Can you give me an exclusive? Do you have restrictions on how I can price things? Can I do an event with your products? Like, these are all the conversations that you want to have, especially with a new brand. The next question that you want to ask is, what is your cancel date? So what you're asking is actually a legal term. What is the last possible date that you can ship me before I have the right to cancel my order? So you don't want, Valentine's Day things coming in October because you won't be able to sell them for 3 more months. So you want to be able to control your dollars. Having said that, it's also important to have a start date. Most of the vendors will tell you as ready, but as a buyer, I want you to demand an actual date. So as ready means whenever they feel like it. But if you have let's say you wanted to buy these Valentine's Day goods, and by the way, happy Valentine's to everybody, you probably would want them at the end of December, so you have 6 weeks to sell them in your store, even though everybody's going to buy it the day before Valentine's Day. But if it's not in your store and they haven't seen it for the last month, they will forget you on that day that they actually want to make the purchase. So your cancel date will probably be a 12:15 start with a 12:30 cancel. What are your terms and are you factored? This is a nice way of saying, how am I paying for the goods? For all the new store retailers, be prepared to pay on credit card terms, but make sure that they send you an invoice with the total, including the shipping, before you hand in your credit card. The next thing is you want to ask if they have immediates, because this is a great way of testing a new product and also a way of asking for a discount. You might also want to ask, what is your size run and how do they come packed? So what is your size run means, are they small, medium, and large? Are they 2 to 14? And how do they pack? Sometimes they're pre-packs, and if they're pre-packs, please do not ask the vendor if you could just buy 2 because they are pre-packed. If it's open scale, that means you get to buy your sizes the way that you want, but they might have a minimum per style. Now, having said that, funny story, I'm always telling the buyers you have to be professional, you have to ask the right questions, but sometimes I have asked a shoe vendor at a trade show, not this one, how do the shoes come packed? And she looked at me and said, in boxes. That is not the answer I was looking for. So you'll be surprised. What is your opening order? This is now the polite way, and probably one of the last questions you're going to ask is what are your minimums? And at the end of the day, I really encourage you to do this. If you're not even close to the minimum, then probably the brand wasn't worth it or wasn't a good fit for you. If you're really close to the minimum, do not buy that one extra item just to meet the minimum, but have a conversation with the vendor. Listen, this is the first time I'm doing business with you. It's the first time you're doing business with me. This is what I'm comfortable in buying. I'm almost to the minimum. Can't you work out something with me? And I promise you, 99.9% of the time, when you have that conversation, they're willing to work with you. So the last question could be a whole day class. Is this the best you can do? Because you always want to be able to negotiate, whether it be free shipping, show specials, if you leave the order at the show, whatever it is, make sure that you ask, because most of the time, all of these incentives they're not going to just generously give them to you. You have to ask for them. So a couple of more tips. Start early. You're not on vacation. The first day everybody's excited and comes early. You wait for the doors to open. You have your Krispy Kreme donut and your cup of coffee and you're all set to go. The second day, you might be a few minutes late, but that third day, people straggle in around noon. That is not a good thing. It is a big deal. You have to pace yourself. We're not on vacation. We have 3 days to plan out 6 months of our retail life. Start, plan, pick up the show guide, have that cup of coffee, move out your day. But even though I've said that 3 times, you have to walk the whole show. And it is important to walk every row because a lot of the times, not sometimes, a lot of the times, some of the vendors that you are going to be the only one to discover are misplaced on the floor. You might find an excellent shoe guy that's in the middle of the women's swimwear department that he didn't belong in there, but he is. So be that person that discovers that new brand. And don't forget to network. Don't be shy. This is not a business of shy people or wallflowers. This is definitely a business of social butterflies. And give yourself a goal, especially those established retailers. We get into the same, but I know some retailers that I have worked with for many, many years get upset when one of their brand's booth moves on the show floor. They're like, oh my gosh, they're always on this corner, and they're like completely confused. And I'm like, well, how about checking out the guy that is now on this corner that you're so used to going to? And once they open themselves up to that, they'll happily surprised to find some new brands. So do set a goal of visiting at least 10 new vendors per market and at least buying 3 or 4 of them. The other thing I want to tell you about comfortable shoes is there's no such thing as comfortable shoes. So the idea is to maybe bring 2 different heel sizes, like maybe a flat shoe and like a little here or a little here and a higher heel, because at the end of the day, you just want to take your feet off, not your shoes. So a couple of things. The show is not over when you go home. That's when the real work starts. You have to follow up on your orders. You have to confirm the orders. You want to be able to match the pictures that you took and maybe have a meeting with your sales associates and finalize all the things that you have. You might want to adjust your budget because there's some things that you just want to really test in the store. And here's the other important thing too. All those orders that you may not confirm, I wouldn't just throw them away in the garbage. What we do is we save them in a file and we put them by cancel date. And we write very clear notes why we didn't place the order. So now let's say it's April and we're doing a terrific business on floral yellow dresses. By the way, make a note that is going to be important for April. And let's say that we didn't buy enough of them because we thought it wasn't really our store's taste. We can go back in real time, look at all the other vendors that had that one particular item, go back and see why we didn't buy. Oh, because we thought we bought too many, or it was too expensive at the time, or the delivery date didn't match what I needed. So now we make those adjustments and we can call, and we have already another resource that we already researched that's available to us. So it's important to kind of keep all of the notes of what you've done and what you need to confirm. So This is the retail team. I have had the pleasure of meeting every single one of them. Some of them I know for many, many years, and they're all really just there to help you. So please take advantage of the concierge service. Please take advantage of the retail services. And most importantly, enjoy the show. Thank you very much. My name is Mercedes Gonzalez, and I believe that now we are open for questions.
Mm-hmm. So I'll go ahead and read the questions out to you.
Oh.
Does that work?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Yeah, some of them are redundant. So first question I'll answer is if there will be a copy of this webinar that you guys can receive, and absolutely. We will be emailing a copy of this webinar out to everyone who has attended after the webinar is complete, and there might be a recording, so if we are able to get that, we can email that to you as well. Okay. One of the first questions was, can the magic badge get you into Stitch?
Yes, absolutely. The one badge actually gets into all 13 shows, so you are a true VIP.
Another question was specific to footwear sourcing at Magic. Are there socks in that area?
There are not socks in the footwear area, but you will find them in the regular sourcing area. And I would, if I had to give you some advice, I would look at the Peruvians. I remember they having some, and the Indian manufacturers had some too.
Next question is from House Bianco. What is the best way to negotiate prices and show the manufacturers we are serious? Last time they had 0 followbacks despite giving out dozens of business cards.
I don't understand why you had 0 follow-ups. The vendors, they're especially, I'm going to assume that you're a retailer. Could I assume that?
I would think so.
Yes. So as a retailer, I feel like the vendors are going to be very, they're going to be aggressive about following up with you. But your question about asking for a discount is usually, okay, so I have a little technique, if you bear with me for a second. Everything is practice, right? And you're going to get better and better at it. So the way that I do it is I look at my order form, and as you might have had this experience, there's always one item on the order form that's more expensive than everything else. I don't know how that happens, but it always happens. So what I do is I'll take out my calculator because that looks like you're very serious, right? And I will start calculating on the calculator. I could be typing in my phone number, it doesn't matter, but it does look very serious, right? So once I do that, I look at the vendor and I say, why is this one more expensive? And of course, they'll always have some great story about this one is hand loomed when the moon is full on the top of a Tibetan mountain. And you're like, that's great, but my customer is not going to pay extra for this. Is this the best that you can do? That's a very straightforward question. So you're going to get 2 answers. Yes, I could do a little better. I could do 10%, and that's how we start. Or he might say, no, I can't do any better. So my advice is just cross it off the order because now they know that you're serious. So it is a process. I oversimplified it, but you might, if they don't give discounts up front, you might say, well, listen, do you have any stock or LYs, which is last year goods that I could still use that might be discounted? And this is how you start that conversation too. But just keep in mind, this is not an off-price show. I do want you to be aggressive when it comes to buying and being professional about it, but this is not the show that we're going to go bargain hunting in. We're buying fashion merchandise that's on time without any defects or intangibles that would qualify it for being a discounted merchandise. The only reason that they would want to discount it is to entice you to buy more in the future or because they have an overstock of product.
Great. And then another question from Showroom 111 is, will all these vendors or will all the shows be open on Monday?
No. The only show that's open on Monday, and it's a half a day, is sourcing at Magic. The shows are open the shows are all open full on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Okay. So is there a way to search by price point in the show planner?
No, there isn't, not to my knowledge. But that's okay because it's really what's going to be more important to you. It's not the price point, but it's the value of the product and understanding where your margin builders are and how we can also have the good, better, best pricing theory within the store. So I would say go to by classification of the product that you're looking for, and then negotiate or walk around and looking at the different target price points. But if you're looking for an opening price point, I would definitely start at Young Contemporaries. And if you're looking for the more higher end product, I would look at the 10.
Okay. Another question is, can you define young women's subcategory alternative?
Alternative is going to be your rockabilly look, your goth, your punk, your metalheads, your church lady. No, just kidding. They don't fall into that category. But there is a lot of that kind of, I guess, hot topic kind of look. But the most exciting one of all of them is that 50s nostalgic that is really growing, and it's really beautiful, and it crosses over into mainstream boutiques too.
Another one is it okay to ask directly if they accept letter of credit? And how much risk is there when we use a TT payment method?
So that's a transfer, a bank transfer. So I would only recommend a letter of credit if we're talking about a $100,000 order. If that's the case, as you know, letter of credit can be very time-consuming and complicated and costly to do. That's why I have such an exaggerated number for you to be able to do that. The wire transfers are now easier done, and you'll be surprised how many vendors just take electronic payments through PayPal and also through credit card, especially if they're able to use QuickBooks. So a form of payment is really, especially if it's international, which this question sounds like it might be, it's a very small global business, so I wouldn't really worry about any of that.
Okay. I'm in the process of launching my own clothing line. Is my Sourcing at Magic badge a good start for me to learn how to make this happen?
It is an absolutely best investment you could possibly make. And I do recommend taking some of the, I do have a class on fashion startup on how to sell the line. There are some great trend forecasting workshops there. There are so many great people at the Ask Me desk. One gentleman, I don't know, can I name people by name? His name is Bruce. The guy is like the Superman of magic sourcing. You can tell him I said that, and he will help you exactly where to go. And again, as an emerging designer, please do not be afraid of the minimums. Because, you know, most of the minimums, even with the Chinese countries, like, do not be afraid of walking through China. I know that there's these rumors that you have to buy a container full. It's not true anymore. Everybody's very competitive. But I will tell you that the average minimum right now in sourcing is 300 units. But if your markup isn't there for you to make, it's a pre-sale, it's a math thing. But the idea is that you have to pre-sell 100 in order to break even and get to your 300 minimum. If you can't sell 100 dresses, then you don't have a business, you have a hobby. So don't be afraid. Walk in there. You're going to find some great stuff, and take advantage of the seminars. But absolutely, Magic is, and you know, just to add one more thing about the Sourcing of Magic, it's very complete too, because you'll get fabric people, you'll get trim people, you'll get a lot of the finding people, but most importantly, there's a lot of full package factories that can develop a product from your concept easily through their own product development people. So those are probably, especially for a new designer that you want to go to, the full package or vertical factories that are going to be available.
And another question is, should one take advantage of the concierge program prior to coming to Magic?
Absolutely. That's the best time to do it. Once you're there, forget it. You're on your own.
I would definitely, hi, this is Celeste. Any questions you have or any issues that you would like, you know, where can you find this, or I'm looking for a certain price point of a particular product category, please reach out to our retail relations team prior to getting there. It will help you, you know, be able to navigate, you know, easier, and we will be able to help marry you up to vendors that, you know, are good for your store, and it will save you a lot of time. So again, I can't stress enough, you know, we're here to help you, and let us help you.
Cool. Another question is, if there are seminars on days that we are not at the show, can we get links for those for that information about it now?
I almost want to do that wah wah kind of song, but yeah, I'm sorry. Most of the and this is the important thing, and why it's important to be there for all 3 days. A lot of these seminars are private companies, and again, just going back to some of the professional people and the international speakers that are here, their time is worth a tremendous amount of money. So to get a copy of the PowerPoint or to get a recording is going to be very difficult, if not impossible. So please try your best to be there, especially the workshops that you feel are important to you.
Okay, this is Christina from Runways Magazine. Where can I find out about the networking parties? I'm attending as press media.
Well, the networking parties are going to be listed in the show book. They're going to be in bulletin boards the minute that you walk in. But as press and media, I'm sure that they have their own little.
Yeah, I can speak to this actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you go onto ubmfashion.com under the magic section, if you scroll down a little bit, there is a section called Planning Tools. One of the buttons there is called Press Resources. There's the contact information for our director of PR, and she will have information for you if you need or if you have any questions. She's happy to help. Also, for a list of parties, events, seminars, those are all on ubmfashion.com. Again, they're under the Magic Planning Tool section, under the section that says Seminar and Events. Okay. Another question from Main Street Boutique. Don't bring a roller bag. I had a number of people suggest them. I apologize. I didn't catch that, what you said to bring instead, or why not?
Well, that's funny. Yeah, amateurs will suggest that. As a professional buyer, trust me, you do not want to be tripping people with your roller bag. And plus, I can't stress this enough. All you're going to be doing is collecting line sheets and lookbooks. You're going to get 25 pounds of paper to carry with you that you're going to spread out on the floor of your hotel room and sit there and cry because you won't remember anything. So my advice to you is to sit down, write the order, circle the line sheets, or have them to digitally send you the line sheets and the lookbooks so that you can be refreshed and actually make it to all the shows without having this albatross around your neck or dragging behind you on wheels.
Okay. Another question. Do you have any good resources for getting to know the quote-unquote lingo? It's our first time, and we don't want to look stupid.
Well, I'd invite you to come 9 o'clock on Tuesday morning. We're going to do this workshop again just to refresh you, and we'll go into a little bit more detail, especially the buying part, because that's where it gets a little bit tricky. But the buying lingo, definitely like the cancel dates, the as ready, right, IR, for damaged goods, like all of those things you kind of learn. There's not a textbook or a glossary, but it is important to take down notes of the things that you don't know and either email me or, ask one of the staff there at the show, and they'll help you dissect a lot of the stuff.
Great. Okay. Another question, Celeste said she might take this one, is how can I find the number for the company I'm interested to make appointments with them for the show?
If you're looking and you see a company that you're interested in making an appointment with and you don't know how to contact them, please email our retail relations inbox, which is retailrelations@ubm.com, and we will be very happy to give you the information that you need in order to reach out to this vendor prior to the show in order to make an appointment.
Cool. Okay. We have quite a few more. Okay, if we don't make a purchase at Magic but get somebody's contact information, do people usually do business outside of the event?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question, and I really should have talked about that. I would say that 80% of the business is done outside of Magic. So I typically write my immediate orders at the show. The notes that I take, I always put hold for confirmation, but I do write a lot of the stuff or a lot of my orders after the show because that's when I can sit in peace and really work out my budget and put it all together. So getting those line sheets sent to you, making clear notes in that notebook that I told you about, stapling the business cards and following up with the supplier that you're interested in is crucial, especially the first couple of weeks after the show.
Okay. Another question. I will open my store only in April. Will there be vendors that are willing to ship until then? Also, Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Also, will my badge include another guest?
No to the guest. And April, yes, because a lot of the brands, and I'm not really sure what type of store you're opening, but the Young Contemporary and WWD Magic, the men's area in the collective, all of them have a lot of vendors that will have immediate goods, and April delivery is considered immediate goods. Now, I do want to warn you something. I'm not really sure where you're opening, but if you're not opening in a resort area, to open up in April is really not a great month because you're going to miss Easter and Passover, and you're just on the cusp of Mother's Day. And once you go into summer, it's a very lonely and quiet time for retail. So if you could extend the time before you open or get a few months extra free rent, I really advise that, than opening up right before the summer. You're really going to miss a moment of opportunity. Or what I would try to do is just buy things price until I get geared up for fall, and try to just have these margin builders so that when you have a big sale in July, which is a typical sale month, I'm not killing my margins doing that.
Great. Okay. If you are both new and a small boutique startup, this one's for Celeste, pardon me. If you are both new and a small boutique startup, how do you seek out vendors who will be more likely to work with you and have lower minimums?
So, okay, the vendors don't have there's a couple of questions there. First, it doesn't matter that you're new. This is the show to go to because you are new, because of the support system and the variety of brands that are going to be there. Again, I'm not really sure what kind of vendors that you're going for. Some of the more contemporary, more established brands, they're going to want to see credentials. They're going to want to see pictures of the stores. You have to fill out forms. You have to fill out new store forms, which can get complicated with all of that. But having said that, minimums are minimums. So you have to work around them. I don't feel like any brand's minimum is not conducive to helping, especially in a new store, and especially if you want to start with a variety of product. But again, everything's a conversation. So my best advice is this: look the part, be confident, be professional, and have a conversation. Do not be afraid. You are the buyer. You're in charge. This is your store. This is your livelihood. This is your dream, and stay focused. And please, again, not to keep plugging myself, but that Retail 101 class, that's at 3 o'clock on Tuesday. I think it would be really, really helpful for you, especially in planning out your new store. And congratulations.
Also, I just wanted to note we have quite a few questions, so we're going to try and get through all of them right now with Mercedes on the line. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up with that. Another question is, I've never been to a trade show before. Do I need to bring an order form?
Well, it's funny because we had discussed putting that as a slide or not putting that as a slide. I come from the school of it's important to have your own uniformed order form just for clarity and paper trail, but every single vendor that you go to will have their own order form that you can fill out. So to answer your question, no, you don't need one, but in the future, I think it's a good investment in your own.
Okay. We have another question. What area of the show are the nail polish wholesalers located at?
To my knowledge, there are no nail polish wholesalers. If you were to find anything, it might be in Pool.
I've seen one in Pool.
In Pool, right? Yeah.
Okay. How do we receive a complete list of attendees before the show?
Attendees?
Yeah.
Oh.
Celeste, do you want to take that one? How do we receive a complete list of attendees before the show?
Well, if we're talking about attendees, which is actually the retailers, we don't publish our list of attendees. However, if you're looking for an exhibitor list or vendor list, you can go onto our website and they are there by show. Or if you can contact us in our retail relations box, we can send you a PDF of specific shows that you're looking for.
Great. Okay. Is it too late to receive one of the books with a list of vendors before next week? I'm assuming the brand books?
Yeah, there are no physical books that are mailed out, but everything's online. It really is online, and it's pretty easy to navigate. It's been all updated. But the minute you walk in, you can find
where can I find collections of swimwear?
In the Curve Show.
Would you say that magic is only strictly for selling and buying, or do you think other companies come for different opportunities? Example, logistics.
There are some logistic companies that are there, and they approach you. Magic does give service badges to different people that are industry related, but it is primarily a buyer and seller's market.
As a new brand looking to gain intel on Magic prior to launching as a vendor in the fall, what resources are available to me?
Well, I know, first of all, I think that's a very good strategy that you walk the floor as a new brand, especially to find out your positioning. Magic does have very set rules about that, and there are fees related with that too. Celeste, maybe you can talk more towards that. It's a brand that wants to come in to look at positioning before they exhibit at the show.
If you're a potential exhibitor, what we would do is we get you registered as a guest of sales, and based upon your product category and what show you would fit into, we would marry you up with that show, with one of the show salespeople, and then they would give you a guided tour and take you through the show, explain pricing, explain what it takes to be in that particular show. We'd like to talk to you about your brand and your product. So if you would like to do that, again, you can email retail relations, and we would help facilitate that for you.
Okay, the next one is more of a statement, but maybe they're looking for guidance on which shows to go to. I'm not a fashion designer, but I'm looking for a manufacturer that makes ready-to-wear clothing and footwear. I can just do private label.
Yeah, there's a lot of private label opportunities at the sourcing. So what you want to do is look for full package factories. And the beautiful thing is that they bring so many samples with them. So we call that a history closet. They'll bring a lot of samples of the stuff that they've already made. And you might even not just want to slap your label on it, but you might also want to tweak it a little bit. And the minimums for doing that are really insignificant. So I think you're going to find a variety both in the footwear and apparel in the sourcing.
We have a few questions on order forms. One wants us to go into a little bit more detail on what an order form is. And then, do I need to bring my own, or will vendors have an order form?
Okay, so this is really important because an order form is actually a legal contract. You are writing down the items that you want, the color that you wanted it, the sizes that you wanted it, and the price that you've been told you're going to pay. You have to have I like to also add the shipping point where I'm responsible paying for shipping. So again, there's so many international brands that attend this show that I want to make sure that my FOB, freight on board, which is one of those lingo terms, right? That my shipping is within the United States and I'm not paying shipping from China or from Peru or from Mexico, that I'm paying local shipping freights. I also need to put a date, which is my start date and my cancel date on the contract, and I want to put a total. So again, just to go over the cancel date is really important because that's the last day that they can ship you before you cancel the order. So let's say that you write an order, you sign it, and it's a done deal, you even followed up on it. You can't decide to cancel that order 3 months from now because your order form is a legal contract. Now, having said that, I would say on average, and this is 25 years of buying, an average of me buying pre-orders, not immediate orders, but pre-orders, which I will be doing now for fall, probably about 30% of my orders never get shipped. So that's why it's important to constantly be following up and asking them, are they coming? Because they're not liable for not shipping me, but I would be liable if I cancel the order. So to answer your question, yes, I am a big fan of having my own personal order forms. And if you come to the 9 o'clock workshop or the 3 o'clock workshop on Tuesday, I will show you a copy of it. And everybody is free to to Instagram me and to Twitter me. So is that a verb, Twitter me? It sounds kind of porn, but okay. So it's Mercedes, MERCEDES at GPC. So Mercedes GPC, Global Purchasing Companies, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of what ours looks like. But it is important to have an order form. And yes, all the vendors, trust me when I tell you, will have their own order form. So you're not going to not write an order because of that.
Okay, next question. It's my first time attending the show. Can you give me some suggestions on what is the best part of the show that I shouldn't miss? It is overwhelming already just looking at the program.
Oh, honey, but I need to have some more information. Like, what are you looking for? Are you looking for kids? Are you looking for swim? Are you looking for plus sizes? Are you looking for tall men? Are you looking for petite ladies? Like, we could be very, very specific, or we could be very general. But understanding that it's your first time and you're a new store, honestly, I advise you and encourage you to walk the whole show, because you might think, oh, my store is going to be this. But after walking the whole show, after looking at the trend reports, after taking a couple of seminars, you might be inspired to do something else. And that has completely happened to so many of our clients. So really, just go in with a free heart and an open mind, and you'll find what you want.
Mercedes, last year you offered classes in California. Will you be doing that again? I've received all your class information, but they have been in New York thus far.
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing LA anymore. But thanks for asking. But I do go to LA market a lot.
Okay. Are there vendors that offer drop shipping?
No. I would say, I'm just scanning my brain for a second. I would say that the vendors that are part of this group of vendors, they don't drop ship. That's more like a commodities kind of vendors that will drop ship, but not the ones that you'll find at this trade show.
Okay, I am a new store and this is my first time at the show. Will we be able to purchase goods at the show or just place orders?
There is only a small cash and carry area, which you'll find at pool, but a lot of the vendors will have it immediate. So, and plus you don't want to be carrying stuff around with you. So they will ship it out from the show. And I would say you could probably get it as soon as 2 weeks. There'll be plenty of that. I would say probably 80% of the vendors in women's, not so much in men's, but in women's will definitely have immediate merchandise.
Okay. Is there any way to search by product with Show Planner?
Yes.
There are a lot of Chinese manufacturers that do not state what they sell.
Oh, so he's looking at sourcing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing with sourcing, is because a lot of the factories are very item specific, so they assume that you already know what that factory is known for. There's no shortcut when it comes to sourcing. You would have to just walk the whole show. Or again, use the Ask Me desk and they'll help you.
I'm a very small boutique in a rural area. I have been open for a year. I have only been buying for fashion from Fashion Go. This is my first time. I feel very overwhelmed. How do I even start? I am used to buying 1 to 2 weeks out.
Okay, so this is the good news. What's her name?
Julie,
I also own a very tiny boutique in a one-horse town. You're paying. And a lot of the vendors that you find on Fashion Go, you will find in Young Contemporary. And they do have 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks out merchandise. The best part is you're going to find that it's going to be much cheaper than Fashion Go. And you're also going to find that there's more variety because they don't have the time to put everything on this website. And once you touch and feel a lot of the products and build relationships with them, you'll be able to work directly with them too.
Great.
So you're going to have a great time.
Another question, are we required to check in on Monday?
No. You could check in any time.
I would suggest it, as the Tuesday tends to be a lot longer.
That's correct.
Okay. Which show carry plus sizes?
So you'll find most of the plus sizes will be in WWD Magic. You will find some extended sizes in Project, but I would say that the concentration is going to be there.
Okay. Hi, I will be attending Magic as an emerging online store. What are some things I can do to have vendors take me seriously when my store is not set up yet?
Well, that's a very good question. And my first thing is, and I'm going to get a little bit off topic here, but do you really want to be an online store? And I just want to encourage you, if you'll take like 45 minutes out of your life, I have a video on YouTube on how not to open an online store because they're not profitable. And over the last couple of years, I have made a very good living selling stuff from online stores that have abandoned goods in warehouses. So I caution you about that. now to answer your question about being taken seriously, I would come with what I call a concept book, where you kind of lay out the concept of your online store, what would make it different from the other ones, how you're planning on marketing it and branding it, where your point of distribution is going to be, how you're going to handle the social media aspects of it, how are you going to handle the web management of it, the photography standards that you're going to have, because that's very important to all of the brands to know that they're going to maintain a certain brand integrity on your website. So if you could put together a little concept book, like think of it as a glorified scrapbook of your website and how it's going to look and who you're going to compete with, they will take you much more seriously.
Okay. Can I get into sourcing with just a magic badge, or is it a separate badge?
No, the magic badge works for sourcing, but the sourcing badge does not work for the rest of magic.
So yeah, so it's one badge. But they will know if it's a sourcing specific badge.
Correct.
So it kind of looks similar, but there's just a little.
It just says sourcing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. There'll be an S on that badge to indicate a sourcing attendee.
Mhm. Okay. Where can I get more information about fashion startups? I guess what kind of fashion startup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a brand or is it a store?
Down to earth. It doesn't really tell me much.
Down to earth. Yeah.
Maybe I would suggest that they reach out separately.
Yeah. Please do. Feel free.
Okay. Where do we sign up for the workshops?
Oh, that's the best part. There is no sign up for the workshop. You just show up. So make sure that you plan it out early, that you give yourself enough time, especially if it's in the two different campuses, Mandalay Bay or the Convention Center. And especially, I'm going to warn you again, if it's one of the trend workshops, you want to get there at least 15 to 20 minutes early.
Okay, will sourcing at Magic be broken up by country? Any tips on finding the right manufacturer for your product? Specific questions to ask.
So, yes, it is broken up by country. So it is important to know what each country is really known for, right? That's kind of important. Like India is known for its embroidery, Peru for its cotton, Colombia for its swimwear and lingerie, China for everything under the sun, so Pakistan for technical products. There's a lot of variety when it comes to that. Having said that, not knowing the product category, I can't really give you a recommendation, but I just want you to have faith that you will find what you need at the show, especially when it comes to sourcing.
I would also add for that, if you go to ubmfashion.com and under the Sourcing at Magic page, there is a matchmaking service for Sourcing at Magic. And that is Bruce Antrobius, who
Superman.
Yeah, Mercedes was speaking to earlier. So if you go onto that page under Planning Tools, there's a section that says Matchmaking. Click on that. It will take you to a form. You can fill out all your needs and requests, and that will get sent directly to Bruce. And he can start a dialogue to help facilitate and help solve any of your questions or provide you with any answers. So we had a few questions on Bruce and sourcing. So if you're interested in finding Bruce, definitely check out the Sourcing at Magic page on ubmfashion.com. Okay. Another question, what are the most important questions to ask manufacturing and sourcing so they take us seriously?
So we get the question a lot about seriousness, right? To be serious, I think, has a lot to do with your professionalism and knowing what you want. But when you come in there not knowing what you want and expect the factory to be able to answer the questions that you can't even articulate, I think that makes it very difficult. Having said that, I feel that one of the most important questions are capacities. So again, notice the word that I'm using because it's really important. You're not saying minimums, you're saying capacities. So now they're taking you very seriously because you're not talking about, can I make 10 garments or can I make 10,000 garments? You're asking the factory what their capacities are. So that already gives you like a little bit of advantage when it comes to like the standoff that you're going to have with them. The other thing that you want to ask them is if they're manufacturing the products themselves, what's their turnaround time for a sample? What's their turnaround time for per production? Can they source the fabrics for you? Are they full service kind of factory? Are they a vertical factory where they can make their own fabrics? Like you want to get to know a little bit about them before you make a decision if you want to go forward working with them. We should have had a list of questions to ask the factory like we did for the vendors.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
We could always improve.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay, so I registered for an accessories show for my men's and women's accessories. Is there a better show that can help me sell both at the same time?
I think as far as better show, I would honestly answer no. But you do have to go to more than one of the shows within the Magic umbrella. I would definitely go to Collective. I would go to the women WWD Magic. I would probably look at Pool too, because there's some really up-and-coming emerging designers that you would find there. So there is a scattering within the different umbrellas or the different branches of the shows, and obviously Accessories the show will have accessories for all.
Here's another question. I'm a retailer. Am I also allowed into sourcing? Is there a charge for this?
No, that's the best part. So again, just to be really, really clear, as a retailer, you are entitled to go to all 13 shows, which I encourage you. If you are a designer and registered for sourcing, you're only to stay in the sourcing area, but you are able to go to all of the workshops.
Okay, there was another question on finding the schedule for events and seminars. I can answer that one if you want. It's the location for where you can find a complete schedule is on ubmfashion.com under the Magic show page, and then you'll go down to planning tools, and there's a little icon that reads seminars and events. That will list out all the seminars, events, daily happenings by day, and you can check out when things are happening, and you can start adding them to your agenda. Okay, another question. We are a Hollywood style house, and we pair fashion designers with Hollywood stars and stylists. We are thinking about exhibiting for your next Magic show. What is the minimum cost for an exhibitor booth, rough estimate?
That's something I'm going to have to get you in touch with our sales department on, and I will definitely take your information and send that to them, Walter.
Okay. Let's see. I'm interested in attending Children's Club just to walk the floor and see if I would be interested in setting up a booth in NYC. Is it possible as a designer without paying the $500 fee? Scared face emoji. That would be another question for sales. If you are a designer, there is a charge to walk the show. So if you are interested, I would definitely reach out to our sales team. You can definitely find resources on who to reach out to via ubmfashion.com. So I would go to the Children's Club Magic page and look under the Exhibitor Resources button and reach out to one of the sales team there. So another question about order forms. Do I need to fill out an order form before going into the Magic trade show? I've read people saying they have order forms to have your order forms complete.
No, I think that there's a lot of weird information out there in cyber world. You don't have to fill out an order form because you're not ordering anything. You're going to go to the individual brands that will have their own order forms. They will have their own lookbooks and line sheets. You will determine what you want to purchase and not purchase. You don't have to listen to the minimums. It's all about having a conversation. But don't be overwhelmed and don't overthink it. Really, you're going to have a great time. Just walk in, relax, have that cup of coffee, have your carb fix and sugar fix because you're going to need it, and just walk the show. You'll be fine. Trust me. They're not a bunch of angry piranhas that are going to attack you. You're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm. Another question from Cheryl. It's my first time attending. Can I bring my assistant with me, or do they need to register as well?
Everybody needs to register. Everybody needs a chip in their head. I mean, on their back.
Okay. From Eden Fashion Boutique, is it pretty standard that most of the vendors will organize their collections by ship dates?
You would think that that would be true, but I have found many, many times you have to ask them to give you by delivery date. I personally like to write my order 1 month at a time. Everything that has so right now I'm probably buying 7:30, 8:30, 9:30s. I like to put them in different orders, but some of the vendors like to show it all together and do a 7-1 start with a 9:30 cancel, and I can't have 3 shipments on one order because at the end of the day, you want to be able to control your dollars and be able to budget what comes in every month. And also the way that you buy it, I already start merchandising it in my head so that when it gets to the store, I already know how I want to lay it out. So if they're going to be shipping me one piece a week or every month, it doesn't make any sense to me because I'm waiting for like the bottom to come in or the dress to come in to kind of tie that whole little collection together. So to answer your question, most of them do show it by delivery date and by cancel date, but sometimes you have to ask for it.
Another question about bringing a guest. I was told I could bring a guest, but I believe you just said no. Is that correct?
That is correct. Every single person has to be registered. And it's for their own benefit, too, because you're going to be able to get the emails, you're going to be able to get the support and everything else. Oh, Celeste wants to chime in.
Yes, you can bring a guest, but you just have to, as Mercedes says, you do have to register, but that person will be registered as your guest. So yes, you can bring a guest if they do not work for your store.
Hi, this is Iran Style. I'm starting a new online retail store. As a small startup, is Magic a good place for private labeling?
Well, I hope you heard my feelings about online store, so I won't discuss that. But yes, absolutely. There is a lot of private label opportunities at the sourcing. But here's another thing that I should throw in too. Just about everything that you can find that is a margin builder, you can private label too. So the law says as long as you don't put somebody else's brand in, like you can't buy a dress from one of the contemporary guys and put Prada's name in it because that would be counterfeiting, but you can put your own name in it, your own label in it, like take out the label, sew in your own label, and that is a legal process. Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunities for those margin builders and for private labeling, both in the ready-to-wear area of Magic and also in the sourcing.
Great. Is there any Retail 101 classes? Are they happening on Wednesday or Thursday?
They are happening on Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and I am the teacher of it. And thank you for asking. And also, if you wanted to get a preview, I encourage you also to go online under Global Purchasing Companies on YouTube. There's a lot of videos on there, too. And there's actually a video of me shopping Magic. It's quite a few years old, but it'll give you like a visual of what the experience is like, too.
And I'd also like to comment, once this webinar is complete, there will be an email being sent to everyone who has attended the webinar with a link to the seminars and events and some of the other resources that were discussed in this presentation. Where can I find a collection of yoga and shapewear?
I would try it in two different areas. Definitely the Curve Show has some of the yoga wear, and WWD Magic also has some of the activewear and yoga wear that you can find there too.
Any additional pointers for vendors from Kenya, especially on production or wholesale orders?
Well, hello, Kenya. Nice to have you online. Yes, one of the most important things that you're going to get, or actually the only hiccup that I foresee you having is not having a distribution point in the U.S. A lot of the U.S. buyers want that FOB to be local to them. Within the United States, I mean local, then an FOB of Kenya. So if you can kind of secure that ahead of time, that would be fantastic.
Okay. Where should I start off first? I'm trying to create my own clothing line.
Well, I would definitely visit the pavilion for the trends that are available. And then I would just honestly start with the first row at sourcing and just go down each of the aisles and look for inspiration.
Okay. If you don't suggest a rolling briefcase, what would you suggest to carry items? A backpack, a crossbody?
I guess everybody is missing the point. I don't want you to carry a whole bunch of stuff with you. Trust me, you're talking to somebody that has a lopsided shoulder before email. So you want to really be able to get everything digitally. I don't even like to take a business card of a person that I'm not going to do business with because it's just one more thing that I won't know what it is when I unpack the suitcase when I get home. I want you to be lean and trim so that you won't get tired and overwhelmed. And you'll remember this voice in your head when you've picked up one catalog too many and you're going to regret it. So the idea is to have everything sent digital. Again, we were just talking about this before I started. I am a paper person. I had to print this workshop and look at it on paper, not on the computer screen. And I'm telling you, as a person, you really are going to regret carrying all of those catalogs with you. I would usually what I carry is a small side bag, to keep the essentials, the business cards, the pen, the paper, and the stapler. And I do carry a small tote bag with me. But here's a really great thing. Everybody at the show gives out tote bags. It's like a thing there. So you'll be able to, if you don't bring your own giant tote bag, you'll be able to find one at the show.
Okay. Is there private label located in sourcing?
It's not specifically singled out, but just about everybody will do private label. Anybody that has a sample to display most likely will do private label. The people that only have fabrics are probably just textile vendors and won't have any private label available for you. So that's a good way of distinguishing you.
What are 3 important classes or seminars you would recommend for a new boutique?
Well, I would definitely, again, I'm sorry, I love it though that I'm talking. Is that my mom calling in every 2 minutes? I would recommend the Retail 101 just because it really is a crash course on everything that you need. We talk about hiring salespeople. We talk about the layout of the store and the importance of upselling just from visuals. And we talk about your budget and writing orders. There's another great workshop at the Buyer's Lounge that is working on your open to buy and how to use systems. And then there's another one on email marketing. The Constant Contact does too. And he's really great because a lot of the ways that you're going to communicate and also keep excitement outside of your store with your clientele is through email communication. So I feel like that's important too. But besides the workshop too, I would also go over to the Bloggers Lounge and kind of get some tips from them on how they create content for their blogs and also how they upkeep their social media. So I think that there's so many great resources that I really want you to take advantage of all of them.
Great. And then is there going to be an app for the show? I haven't seen it yet. August is still out there.
No, I think the most important app right now is the Shop the Floor that gives you the insights of who's going to be there. So think of it as a virtual trade show in your pocket. So that's the best way to probably describe Shop the Floor.
And I would also use the show planner as a resource because you can do that before the show. You can still access it on your mobile device. So it's a great way to kind of navigate the show before. Is it best to make appointments in advance, or should we wait until we get to the show?
I'm going to tell you this 2 schools of thought. Me personally, I can never keep an appointment at the show. I can't. It's just you get sidetracked, you find something. I'm like one of those deers in a headlight. I see something shiny and I completely get thrown off my course. Having said that, if you do have a very important brand, especially in the contemporary or one of the more important brands at the tents or at Project Men's, and you have to make an appointment and you have to keep it. But as far as I would say to answer your question, it would be a combination of both. That you have to see that are hard to get into, I would make my appointment ahead of it, but leave plenty of time for a free flow kind of access to the things you didn't know you wanted.
I'm confused about sourcing and the actual show. What is sourcing and who is it for?
So sourcing, in a nutshell, is for designers, manufacturers, brands, emerging designers, retailers that want their own product in their store. There are textile people there that you could just buy the fabrics and have them made locally. Maybe you just want to make a couple of prom dresses or whatever. There's that kind of area. And then there's full package factories that you give them a concept from a CAD, from a tech pack, or maybe from a sample that you want to work from, and they'll develop a product for you. So basically, the sourcing area, if I had to just sum it up, is an area where you go to develop product. It's not where they have ready-to-wear product. But having said that, they do have products available that you can relabel on your own.
Another question. Which show focuses on women's 40 plus?
Yeah, this is really interesting question because it's not really a demographic anymore. It's really about the social graphic of the consumer, because 40 is really, when it comes to a specific body type or an attitude, it's really kind of wide. I personally, a lot of the stores that we work for are more mature stores, and we still find plenty of product in young contemporary. That's why I said that name of that area is very deceiving, and a lot of people that have a 40-plus store don't walk that area, but you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities. If I wanted to be really concentrated, I would then say Women's Wear Daily, WWD Magic is probably the area that you want to start in before you branch out into the other areas of the show. But again, Project Women's, you're going to find a lot of great denim brands there, a lot of casual knit brands there that will meet the needs of this consumer too. But don't think so much demographic, think more about how the consumer is thinking about herself today.
There's another question regarding bringing a guest, but it's more on time of registering. I'm registered, but my assistant buyer is not. They have decided last minute that they cannot make it. Or that they can make it, pardon me. Is it too late to register them? No.
No, it is not too late to register your assistant.
Yep, you can register leading up to the show, and then if they haven't registered at the show, you can do so on site as well.
Oh, I have a good tip from my office because they're nosy bodies. One of the things that they're suggesting is if you have one of these contemporary brands like Catherine Malandrino is always a jam-packed booth. So I would actually make an appointment beforehand, but to really be ahead of the curve, ask them for the new store form so you have it all filled out and know what their requirements are before you actually meet your appointment.
Another question is, what is Mercedes' YouTube channel name?
It is Global Purchasing Companies. So boring and corporate, but that's me.
Okay, this one might be for Celeste. How are you able to and based on the approval email if your badge is for magic or just for sourcing?
Within the approval email, it will tell you what show you're approved for. So it will tell you that you're approved for sourcing at Magic, or if it's Magic, it'll say Magic on the actual confirmation. So, and then once you get to the show and the badge is printed, an S on the badge represents a sourcing attendee, and an A represents an attendee that is for the Magic marketplace overall.
Another question regarding sourcing and attending other shows. If I only have the badge to attend sourcing at Magic, how may I attend other shows like WWD Magic?
Well, you can't. You need to register or you need to be escorted by somebody from the sales department in order to be able to have access to those shows. I mean, and it's only right because what they're doing is, in this industry, there is a lot of corporate espionage, and they don't want a designer walking around all the different booths and being inspired by what's happening in real time. So that's the reason why Magic does really take that extra level of protecting the brands that are exhibiting versus the designers that are looking for inspiration.
Okay, I'm registered for sourcing at Magic. Which parts of the show can I attend? All or just a few parts? It's my first time. Similar question.
Yeah, so sourcing if you're registered for sourcing, you're entitled to go to all of sourcing, which includes the private label, the textiles, even like label company, hang tag companies, printing company, 3D printing companies are going to be there. So all of those really exciting elements you have access to, and the seminars and the cafes and the bathroom, but that's about it.
And footwear sourcing.
That's right, for footwear sourcing also.
Okay, how can I access Shop the Floor online? Shop the Floor online, that's easy. It's shopthefloor.com. Okay, how can I find, or can I find a footwear sourcing company that produces handmade men's shoes, or is it mostly fast fashion products?
No, so WSA is the more fast fashion people. If you go to the sourcing towards the back, it's really kind of weird for me to tell you like towards the back. But if you ask people the directions, there are a few Italian companies. I remember there's a couple of Brazilian companies that might be attending this season too. Just ask because I'm not really sure, but there are a few that do this kind of bestow workmanship and craftsmanship. Also, I believe that there was a Colombian company too. But again, this is a great part of the show too. There's going to be representatives from a lot of these government agencies, and even though their that person didn't come to the trade show, they'll be able to give you the contact too. So also look for the different trade commissions that are going to be available at the show.
Does Magic ever offer home goods shows, comforters, beddings, candles, etc.? Yes, so at Sourcing at Magic in the August show, we have a home and textiles section. So it's more the sourcing kind of section of that sector, but it's not a show per se where you can buy a large chunk of, comforters or home products and all that. It's more for sourcing needs. Okay. You recommended not opening an online store, but you have so many popular brick and mortars closing down. Everything is moving online.
No. Listen, I am not going to get into this argument, but every single online retailer has had to open a brick and mortar store to even start to show some kind of profit. I could give you the example of Nasty Gal with all of her exaggerated numbers and her 500,000 people that visited her website every single month, but it didn't convert into sales. The reason why retailers are closing, and if you really take a look at it, it's the big department stores that are closing, and it's because they're not nimble and flexible to be reactionary and real time. Their projections for sales are a year out when we don't even know what's selling today for Valentine's Day. And this is the benefit that boutiques and brick and mortars have, that they can react in real time. They can buy lean, they can buy in season, they can buy just a few months out, they can predict a lot of the selling cycles better and clearer than a big department store that have actually become dinosaurs in the market. And we're also noticing a huge trend in the consumer buying things that are better made, that have a story behind them and are limited in production. So a lot of these artisanal brands that you're going to see at the show are really important to adding some kind of authenticity to your store versus like a commodity that you could buy on Amazon. So it is just straight out a fact that online business, and I know I get the argument a lot, and again, please, I have this video on it, and this is what I do all day long, try to help these distressed stores transition into brick and mortar, because the consumer, at the end of the day, when we're buying fashion, it's an emotional purchase that we need to touch and feel. When we're buying online, we're only buying commodities that we already know, or we're buying price. Who's got it cheaper? Who's going to sell it to me for free shipping? Who's going to have a free return policy? And how do you make margins when you have to offer all of that?
Okay, we only have a few more. So here's another one. I'm sorry, I missed the term. She said regarding samples from vendors or taking home merchandise home to test.
I missed that part too.
Yeah. Okay, and then let's see. What is your take on the Agenda trade show?
I don't shop that show.
Okay. For a new online women's contemporary store, what is a realistic amount to expect to spend?
What is, I'm sorry?
For a new online women's contemporary store, what is a realistic amount to expect to spend?
To spend on opening a store? To spend on buying? To spend on...
They don't have any more information.
I'll just give you I'm going to try to answer the question as generally as I can. The money that you think you're saving by not having rent, you're going to be paying it to Google and to Yahoo so that people can actually find you online. You still have to pay rent because you have to warehouse all your merchandise. And if you feel like you don't have any employees, try doing customer service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week yourself. So it's all smoke and mirrors.
And then the last question we have, what advice do you have to give for a new online store? Well,
oh, my gosh.
I think that's it.
And they're being punks. My advice is don't open an online store.
Cool. Well, I think that is the last of our questions.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, everyone, thank you so much for spending, your precious time with us. We look forward to meeting you at the show in less than a week. If there's anything you need, reach out to Mercedes, reach out to me, my team. We're here to help, and we look forward to seeing you in a few days. Thank you.